Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt. I do a weekly television show called Team Chicago Challenge. It's a motorcycle racing TV show. My website is teamchicago.tv. Teamchicago.tv. My email is teamdan45@gmail.com. Today we're going to continue on looking at my history, but my history is the history of hundreds and hundreds of people that raced motorcycles in the beginning of the 21st century. Motocross guys, off-road guys, road racers, dirt trackers, ice racers. Fortunate for me, I had the opportunity to be involved with all of them. So we're going to continue on with my granddaughter, Heather, and who's the daughter of my daughter, Bridget. And we're going to continue on talking about this history, and I think you're going to find it very interesting. So what are you looking at there, Heather?
So I wanted to ask you too, looks like you have this picture with this handsome fellow, Giacomo Agostini. So tell me about that. It says here he was a 15-time world champion.
Well, I used to go to Daytona almost every year back then. And, you know, besides running the Weir National Endurance Series, I didn't really race the Daytona race too many times. I did race it a few times. Not the greatest racetrack, but it was a big deal. When they used to have the 200-mile race, that was a huge deal.
Right.
ARMA was also putting on races at Daytona. So I was allowed, Chip Larkby let me ride his bike, then a couple other guys let me ride their 250s, and that was a reason to go down. I got to ride D-Land, which was an airport. But at one of the banquets for ARMA, American Historic Racing Motorcycle Association, Giacomo Agostini was here, and he was like the grand chairman of the races down there for ARMA. And I had an opportunity to interview him, and he was a real nice guy, real down-to-earth. And like you said, as that other picture shows, Lo Dolce Via, I don't know where I got that, but that is so great of a poster, because he's as good looking as any Italian movie star you've ever seen.
Right.
So, and a nice guy. And right below is a picture of Bob Hansen, who, when Dick Mann won the 200-mile race for Honda in 1970, it was Dick Hansen that was running the Honda team. So he was a very interesting guy. And if you turn the page, I got to ride, before Honda had the 750, they were going Daytona with their 450s, and they were racing their 450s in the open class. Did not have quite enough horsepower to win. Once they got that 750, then they became very competitive. So I have a great interview with Bob. Maybe I'll show you a little bit of that, my interview with Bob Hansen, and I got to ride his bike at Mid-Ohio, and I'm definitely going to show you a little bit of helmet cam from riding that Honda 450 at Mid-Ohio.
Board goes 1 minute. Watch the starter. Throws the green flag, and off I go. Get a pretty decent start. I had no points, so I had to start from the last row. And I got about 15 bikes in front of me, 14 bikes. They charge off up front. It's Pat Mooney on that beautiful 62 Norton. Right with them is Jay Richardson, also on a Norton. Both of these are 500 overhead cam Norton race engines, replicas. These are bikes that have been put together from new parts. So we head down this long straightaway. Let's take a look at Mid-Ohio, riding this 450 Honda, Team Hansen, with that replica AirTech fairing. I think my gearing's a little off. By the time I click fifth, I'm already into the brake markers. Got this right-hander. Leads to this left-hander uphill. Go over the hill, downhill, into another right-hander, Mid-Ohio road course. Another left, over a hill, then a right. Head down to the back chute. Get on the gas. First time I rode a vintage bike in many years. Got this right-left combination, downshift. Brings you into the right-hand carousel. Another downshift. Screaming this Honda. It will rev to 10 grand. Make a left, the front straightaway, the short little straightaway. Bring it up. But up front, Pat Mooney, he's got the hot hand on this beautiful Norton right with him. Jay Richardson, like I said, you can buy these components, you can build these engines, you can build these bikes. Stu Carter, Steve Brown, Wes Orloff. Steve Brown and Wes Orloff are also on Bob Hansen 450 Hondas. Great time riding this 450 Honda. I think I finished 11th or 12th in this race. Fond memories of Bob Hansen, and a special thanks to Team Hansen Racing. Their website is www.teamhansenhonda.com. teamhansenhonda.com. Godspeed, Bob Hansen. Now let's get back to my conversation with Heather.
Looks like these are headers for calendars that you've made in the past.
Well, you know, it's, what year is it? We're 2020 right now.
Right.
I have been buying that little calendar from starting with Scott Hershey, going back, I think, almost 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So those are, if you look at some of them headers, and I design a new header every year. Mm-hmm. I know the whole business of the calendars because I would want my calendars by Thanksgiving, so I could send them out as my Christmas cards, you know, to all my business associates and family. Mine were never done. I mean, he always gave me a good price, you know. But I had to go into his shop, and I had to assemble them myself if I wanted my 100 or 200. That's why I know the business, and right now, as we speak, I am now running that business. Scott Hershey, who was also a motorcyclist, he died at a swap meet in New York maybe 6 years ago. Woody, who worked for him, took over the business, been running the business. Now Woody just died back in November. His partner Jim doesn't really want to run the business. I offered to help him, but he turned it over to me. I'm going to give him 10% of the profits. But if you want one of these cool calendars, the name of the calendar company is It's a Great Year Calendar Company. And the email is the same email, teamdan45@gmail.com. So if you want one of these, if you want to order 100 for Christmas present, now's the time. But by the time the show runs, I don't know, this is great. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. Thank to all my grandchildren putting these shows together.
Of course.
All right, so that's the header story. And now we're into the radio show, a couple pictures of the radio show.
Yeah, it's
still doing the radio show with Gina Woods.
Nice.
There we were downtown at WCKG. WCKG in the new Prudential building. And I was there with the coffee truck when they started building that new Prudential buildings.
Wow.
Not the original. Original Prudential building was the first skyscraper. No, not the first. The first big skyscraper with an observation thing when it was 42 stories. But we were kids in grammar school back then.
Right. Very cool. So this, I'm looking at this right here. So what does it say? It says a race that never was. What's up
it was
with
our
that?
school at Groton. Now, I'll give you encapsulate the school at Groton Raceway. E.J. Fossen, who was the owner of Groton Raceway, approached me in '92 about how do we get more people involved with racing. Well, everybody's got to take a school in order to road race. Compared to like flat track, you don't have to take a school. Motocross, I don't think you have to take a school. You just got to show up.
Right.
The road race, you have to go to a school. So in 1993, I put on the first free school. It was absolutely free if you pre-entered. EJ paid all the expenses. He paid for the ambulance, paid the corner workers, and we had about 40 students. In the first school, it did snow on that Saturday.
Wow.
The boys up there plowed the track, and we had the school on Sunday. That was in '93. This is 2003. Huge ice storm came through. I could have put on the school if we all brought our ice race motorcycles because there was that much ice on the entire track. So the school got canceled. There's nothing we could do to have it the next day. So that's why I got those pictures. You'll see the pictures. And it was the ice race school that never was. And then we get into 2003 season. And what race? All right, Virginia.
Yeah, this says Virginia International Raceway.
All right, I think that might have been the first year we ran VIR. I'm not sure, but VIR in Danville, Virginia, okay track. I got pretty good around there. Steve was always better than me, and Phil. And Phil Young also was running during the 2003 season. I think he was even competing for middleweight super bike class. So that's one of the races where Phil Young's in the black leathers on that green Kawasaki.
Okay.
Then we went to Hallett, Oklahoma. And I'm going to show you a clip from Hallett because that's one of the races I have a fond memory. Like I said, there aren't many races that I really feel I'm on the top of my game.
Right.
I mean, in all my races, all my dirt track, but there's been a few, and that's one of them. So I'm going to show you a little footage from Hallett, and I think it's pretty cool, pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Hallett Motor Racing Circuit is just north of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it's approximately 20 miles west of Pioneer Woman's Ranch. As I chased down Phil Young after following for a couple laps, I get by him in the slowest corner on the race course. And now I'm going to just show you Hallett Motor Racing Circuit, and this is what it looks like when you're on the top of your game. I am riding one of my best races right here in Oklahoma. Big fun in Oklahoma. Now let's get back to my conversation with Heather.
So tell me about the Isle of Goose. What exactly is that, and what were you guys riding there? Looks like smaller bikes or something.
The Isle of Goose. Now, I'm totally familiar with the Isle of Goose. There is an island in Chicago. At Division Street. Division Street is 1200 north. The Chicago River splits and goes around this little island. And before North Avenue, the Chicago River comes together. So there really is an island in Chicago. I mean, I know you've heard of Blue Island, and I know you've heard of Stony Island.
Right.
Blue Island, God, I can't get off on all these. In the old days, when it used to flood, Blue Island was an island because everything would flood around. But Goose Island is a real island. And when I was driving the coffee truck, young Coffee Dan, junior in high school at St. George High School, on Saturdays, there was a tannery on Goose Island. And that was one of my stops with the coffee truck.
Wow.
And you talk about a smelly... Tanneries are notorious. Old skins
Right.
bundled up, laying around.
Yeah.
But it was a good stop. Okay. The Isle of Goose, when they run the marathon, the Chicago Marathon, where are all the police when they're running the Chicago Marathon? They're at the lakefront with the Chicago Marathon. So these guys with these vintage 85, 50, 75, 85 cc motorcycles get together and they race on the Isle of Goose.
That is so cool.
So I showed up, there's the Kawasaki, I showed up with Jimmy's son's Kawasaki 85 with street tires.
Wow.
Because Jimmy's son was going to run some super motar with the bike, so we had street tires on it.
Mm-hmm.
I own the absolute track record
Wow.
at the Isle of Goose. And I'm going to show you that footage now. And I hope the new police superintendent doesn't see it, because they might want to come after me and arrest me. If they don't have enough stuff to worry about at this moment.
You get one lap to warm up your tires, and then you make a flying start as I cross the start-finish line. And now I'm on my timed lap. The 80cc Kawasaki mini bike with street tires. .136, a new track record at the Isle of Goose.
So, Grandpa, did you really ride that mini bike that fast on the street?
Well, they had two little deals they did. The absolute track record you ran at one time. Now you had to cross Division Street twice. Coming back, there's a stoplight.
Right.
Somebody was there, heard me coming, pushed the walk button. As I'm approaching, I got the green light. So I could go right through Division, and that was a big, big advantage, no doubt about it. That bike was very fast. And as you can see from the picture with me standing on the back of the pickup truck. And they did it a few years after that, but nobody, I do have. If there's one track record I have the Isle of Goose track record.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I also wanted to ask you too, how did you guys end up ending the season in 2003?
We were in the top, probably overall, probably 11th to 12th. I think we finished third because there was a couple teams that came on the scene that had these are real fast riders, not only riding the endurance, but also riding the sprint races.
Right.
So there was teams that were gunning for us, and I think we finished third in class and probably 11th to 12th overall.
That's awesome.
So, but Team Chicago was still, and I'm doing the great TV shows. I mean,
right. So lastly too, I did want to ask you, there's some pictures here, and it's captioned "The Rock, the Legend, and the Toys 2003." So tell me about that a little.
Well, you get to the end of the year. The Legends is a thing organized to bring motorcycles together, and we had a big banquet. Jim Viverito and I organized that after Warren White and Don Otto organized it originally in 1990. And then they dropped it, and me and Jim picked up the ball and ran with it. So that was generally the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Thanksgiving Day is the day that commemorates the running of the first automobile race ever in America, the United States of America. The first automobile race ever held in America was in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
It started on the southeast side where the Museum of Science Industry is, went to Evanston and back. 6 cars entered, 2 were electric, 4 were gasoline engine, combustion engines. 2 finished. Duryea won it. 1895. So 100 years later was 1995, and they had a big celebration. And Bill Wilt was there in 1995 with Motorsports Unlimited. So every year since that, people gather on Thanksgiving Day in the morning. We get there about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we all gather and chit-chat, and it's a big thing. And Bill Wilt would always do 2 or 3 TV shows. Anybody that showed up, he would interview.
Right.
The guys from the Toys for Tots would show up. You see that one big picture there. So I would always be there, and I didn't do any TV back then, but I would shoot a couple of clips, because then the next weekend, generally the first Sunday in December, is the Toys for Tots motorcycle parade, which is the longest motorcycle parade, and tens of thousands of motorcycles. So those pages commemorate that. And the one thing I want to point out, my dear friend Jan Gabriel, who's the announcer at Santa Fe Speedway, and this is where we're going to end the show. He gave a speech at the Legends. I'm going to show you a little clip of his speech, because it captures the essence of what this whole motorcycle racing community is.
It would be surprising to me if you wouldn't see a national number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 on a Wednesday night, and it was true. But the backbone, the true backbone of Santa Fe, were 2 groups of people, and not necessarily in this order, but there were a lot of local riders. Billy Wilt as an example, who hated it when I called him Billy. Danny Schmitt, Al Bloom is here. The Ulickies, I remember them from Wisconsin. Billy O'Brien, and a host of others. The real backbone of Santa Fe Speedway. So everybody played a role. Everybody was a different personality, brought a little something different to the races at Santa Fe Speedway. And there will never ever be anything like those Wednesday nights at Santa Fe. You'll never see that again anywhere at any time. So if you have a little piece of that somehow, a photograph, a piece of film footage, a poster, anything, treasure it, because they were, in fact, very extraordinary times. I was a psych major, so I figured, well, I'm going to do something really unique here. Nobody will probably get it, but at least I will. So for probably 14 years, I would close the Santa Fe show very simply by saying, be kind, be careful, and most of all, be.
Well, you heard his speech. Jan Gabriel used to end his announcing at Santa Fe Speedway the same way. And I came up, I said, I got to end my show in some particular way, just like Jan had his particular way. And that's when I watch the end of my show, I always say, see ya. And I'm so happy when I drop shows off at Chicago Access, all the people in the control room say, see ya. So
great.
thanks for spending some time with me and going over this. And
Yeah.
what do you think? You think you've learned something about
Yeah,
Team
a
Chicago?
lot, for sure. Most definitely. It's extremely interesting stuff. I feel like it's important too, you know.
Thank you, Heather. I'm having a great time, and as I chase down Phil Young at Hallett, for more information on where America's road race leader, it's WERA.com. WERA.com. To contact me, it's teamdan45@gmail.com. I love to hear from my audience, and I love to hear your comments. Remember, you can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing for great motorcycle racing action.